Got John Sarian on the line,
Mm,
who's asking. I think this is a really good question.
very
So
good.
I've gotten the jump on you on this one in looking at the schedule. Which game will be the real test, in your opinion, for whether the pass defense is good enough to get Oklahoma to the playoffs and win the big one?
So, a very, very good question. So, thanks, John, for sending that in. I think it's a different answer for if I'm answering to the playoffs and actually win one, right? So, I when you look at that, look at that question from a pass defense perspective. I mean, I think initially I'm going to say Texas. Really
that's where I'm going.
Texas because of what Sark brings to that team, for the weapons that they have at the receiver position. Iowa State is probably a better team overall, but really when you're talking from a pass defense perspective, I think Texas is the team that you're going to look at and see how well they play. Obviously Oklahoma played better in that game this past year and won. And I say better comparatively to how they played against Kansas State and Iowa State, but they still gave up a lot of points. Obviously it went to, that was an extra overtime affair, and that played into it a little bit. But Oklahoma played extremely well in that game for 3 quarters defensively, and they kind of fell apart a little bit in the fourth quarter and let Ellinger and the team come back, Texas team come back a little bit. So if I had to point to any one team, one game, it would be Texas. Now, kind of depends on how that game goes, right? So if you're an Oklahoma fan and you're looking at that game and Oklahoma wins that game, let's say 31-14. Let's just say, just for argument perspective, they gave up 14 points and to a team like Texas. I think that gives you an indication. Yeah, Oklahoma's probably ready. They're in a good position. They've put themselves in a good position to get to the playoffs and win that playoff game. Now, if you come out of that game and they won the game 45-42, you're still maybe on the fence. Like, they can still get there, but they've got some improvements that they need to make, kind of going into the latter half of that year. And I think, when you think of the pass defense, to me, John, I think one of the things that I look at is how good is your defensive line, because your defensive line has the ability to maybe mask some of the challenges that you have from a secondary perspective. I'm not saying that Oklahoma will or currently does have any challenges, but as good as their defensive line has been this past year and is going to be, from a expectation perspective, they can mask some of those issues. So is Oklahoma able to consistently get pressure, even with the front four without having to do much blitzing? I think that helps the secondary obviously a lot. But when you get into the playoffs, you go against teams that are going to have really solid offensive lines. As we alluded to, those teams that Oklahoma is going to play, they're going to have better offensive lines. So Oklahoma may not be able to always generate that same amount of pressure. So the secondary improvement will be paramount. And Mark, as I'm talking through this, I'm trying to think of any team in the Big 12 that would really challenge them from a really kind of a barometric perspective to know, hey, is this a team? I mean, I don't really think that there is outside of Texas. I mean, maybe Oklahoma State to a degree, but other than that, Iowa State has some weapons, but that's not the way they play offense, the way they run offense. They're a zone read. They're a kind of a pound you in the face, running attack type of an offense as well. So I would think Texas and to a certain degree Oklahoma State.
Nebraska in week 3 lost its best player, Wan'Dale Robinson, to Kentucky. He was a tremendous player, caught 50-some passes in a short season last year and was really a jet sweep kind of guy as well, just an elite type athlete that I saw ranking as being one of the 3 or 4 best transfer portal additions to a team this year. So he's gone from Nebraska. They have really good skill position athletes that are unproven on the outside, but Adrian Martinez, he's going to check down. He's not a long ball thrower. He's not a guy that's going to show you the NFL pass to 15 yards, that hash from the far hash all the way over, just make those kind of throws. He's just not that kind of player. He's going to run around and make plays, and he's gotten to a point in his career. He takes care of the football better than he did. He was really loose with the football early, and he's improved there, and he will be accurate in a very short range. So he's not going to test you downfield. And then looking at everybody else, then the thing about Texas that's going to be intriguing is, of course, they're going to have an elite prospect win that job, whether it's Hudson Card, most likely Casey Thompson, and that is game number 6. So I believe at that point in the deal, either that player is going to be playing well or they're going to move on to the other guy. And so the chances are between two elite prospects that one of them is going to pan out. And then with Joshua Moore and Jake Smith and Brendan Eagles, and I was just looking at Bijan Robinson coming out of the backfield as a true freshman, caught 15 passes and a couple touchdowns. So that's part of the pass defense as well, picking up those backs as receivers out of the backfield. And so I think Texas is substantially, before Iowa State, the team to look out for in the passing game. But Iowa State with a veteran quarterback, Charlie Kolar's one of the best in the nation at tight end, and Xavier Hutchinson and company, more proven with a higher floor. But just in terms of sheer athleticism, explosion, and potential, I'm going to go with Texas as being a big challenge.
No, yeah, certainly agree. Texas, Iowa State, and Oklahoma State are the three teams that can probably, kind of press them a little bit with their talent. There's some other good teams, obviously, in the Big 12 offensively, but I think those are the three that absolutely are going to push Oklahoma to its extent to really kind of get them ready for a playoff game. So, I agree with you.